Okay, everybody, this is going to be a video about reciprocals, and not really a math class idea of reciprocals, although it could easily be if you have a really cool math teacher. But really, I'm thinking about physical science and reciprocals. So let's start off with what a math teacher might say. A math teacher would probably say this. If you have a number and you multiply it by some other number, and they multiply together and they make 1, then that means those two numbers are reciprocals of each other. So just a little tip from me is one of these numbers is going to be greater than 1, and the other number is going to be less than 1 because we need them to come out to be 1. So let's just dive right in and get some practice so you can see how easy this is. So let's see here. The first one I made here is this one. 7 times what equals 1? Well, if 7 is bigger than 1, we need something smaller than 1. Maybe we should pause the video for a second so you can think about it, come up with some guesses, and then we'll come right back. Okay, we're back. 7 times 1 seventh. Why does that keep disappearing on me? Okay, let's try this again. So 7 times 1 seventh is 1. Just a little side note, because I like little mental tips to remember. If you think about this 7, if you think about it this way, think of it as 7 over 1. And you go, oh, 7 over 1, 1 over 7. Those are reciprocals. That's disappearing on me. I'm getting angry, but I'll deal with it. So that's a pretty handy trick. So if you remember that, then 600 times what must equal 1? Well, it must be, I'll be right back. It must be 1/600th. Okay, so once again, 600 over 1 times 1 over 600, they multiply together and you get 1, because 600 times 1 is 600, 1 times 600 is 600, 600 over 600 is 1. So this one right here, this one looks a little different. I didn't give you the big number, I gave you the little number. So 1/80th times what must be 1? Well, if you've got 1/80th, you're going to need 80/80ths, right? So 1/80th times 80 must equal 1. So that tells us that 1/80th and 80 are reciprocals. Does it always have to be a nice tidy whole number or a fraction? No, it doesn't have to be. It could just be a decimal. So 0.294 times what is 1? Well, we can just do what is 1 divided by 0.294. We get 3.4 blah blah blah. I am not going to write all those decimals, but it was, what was it? It was 3.4. Okay, so we've got 3.4. Uh-oh. So 0.294 and 3.4, they are reciprocals. A lot of your calculators will even have that as a button on them somewhere. Right here is the 1 over x button. Let's go back and see what that does. Let's put in our 0.294, 0.294, and let's just hit the reciprocal button and see what it gives us. Boop, it gives us the 3.4. So, yeah, reciprocal is, it's a matter, for me, it's a matter of convenience. So, like, what's it good for? Watch this. Let's say I go out and I Google a rotary tool. Like I'm going to buy a whatever this thing is, a Milwaukee or a Dremel or whatever. And it says it goes around 35,000 times per second. What in the heck? 35,000 times per second. I'm sorry, that's per minute. So if that thing spins around 35,000 times per minute, a lot of people call those RPMs. That's short for revolutions per minute, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. So what is the reciprocal of 35,000 RPMs or 35,000 spins per minute? Well, it's going to be 1/35,000th, whatever that is. So let's do that on the calculator really quickly here. 1 divided by 35,000. We get, oh, it's such a tiny number, it gives us scientific notation. So it's 2.87, I'm going to call that 3, times 10 to the negative 5th. So, whoops, so we've got 0.1234. And that is the reciprocal of that. What are our units going to be here? Well, here we were spins per minute, so this is going to be minutes per spin. And you could say 1 spin if you wanted to, but typically we just say that it's 0.00003 minutes. So what would you rather say to someone? Would you rather say to someone, oh yeah, this rotary tool, it spins 35,000 times a minute. Oh, sweet, all right. Or would you rather say, this rotary tool takes 0.00003 minutes to spin once? Saying each of those is the same thing. It's just you're flipping your fractions, top to bottom. That's it. So in physics, every year we talk about frequency and period. So let's just say that the frequency of your heartbeat is 2 beats per second. You could say 1 second if you wanted to. Some people leave it off. So what is the period? How long does it take for your heart to beat once? Well, what if I tell you that frequency and period are reciprocals of each other? Then you're like, oh, okay. So 2 times what equals 1? It must be 1/2 or 0.5. So if your heart is beating 2 beats per second, that means it's 0.5 seconds for 1 beat. See how that works? That's pretty slick, huh? Now, neither of these is too awkward to say. I'm just as fine saying 2 beats per second as 0.5 seconds per beat. But if you get into these other wacky numbers, like 0.00003 versus 35,000, people are going to choose that one, probably, unless you're kind of odd. I don't know. So I'm almost done here. Let's say my truck gets 30 miles per gallon. Would it make sense for me to use gallons per mile? If I use the reciprocal of this, that's going to be 1/30th. So what is 1/30th? That's going to be 0.03 repeating. So if I get 30 miles per gallon, I'm getting 0.03 repeating. What's that? That's going to be gallons per mile. Would you ever use this? No, you wouldn't, because you've got 30 you can just say. I'd rather say 30 miles per gallon versus 0.03 repeating gallons per mile. But can you imagine a situation where you might want to use the reciprocal? What if you had a vehicle like this thing, and before anybody jumps on me, this doesn't run on gasoline, it runs on electricity brought in from the outside. But if you had this giant device, this thing, think about the gas mileage this thing would get. This thing, who knows? It's going to be some tiny, tiny number. So that might be, let's see here. Who knows? I'm just going to make this up. I'm going to say that thing might get 0.00004 miles per gallon. Why would you say this when you could just say, let me use my reciprocal button here again. So I had 0.00004. I could say 25,000. And what's this one going to be? This is gallons per mile. So that giant device takes 25,000 gallons to go 1 mile. These two numbers are the same. These two fractions, I guess, are the same as each other. Once again, I just made this up for the sake of making a problem. Anyway, I've gone over 8 minutes. Hopefully you understand what reciprocal is, why it's useful to be able to switch back and forth sometimes. And overall, my main goal, I suppose, one of my main goals is that your brain can be flexible. You want to be able to think in different ways. And if you can do that kind of stuff in your brain, all the better for the problems that you can solve in your future.